particularly about the Shaltiel that he found during his research. And as usual, we will end at 11:30, because at 11:30 we will have Isaac Leroux and Alberto Luis Gallardon coming. So Moshe, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Moshe Shaltiel. As we used to do it in our various reunions, I'm Moshe Shaltiel, son of Daniel Shaltiel, son of Yosef Shaltiel. And if I go the line, the half an hour will be over. So I cut right here. I actually have good news and bad news for you. When Philippe and I talked about my talk here, he asked me how long you think it's going to take you. I said about 2 weeks. And we wind up in 30 minutes. But the 30 minutes was supposed to leave time for question and answer, which to my opinion are much more important than my presentation. So with my partner in crime for all those years, Miles Shaltiel, we worked out some kind of a, by the way, you do have my presentation in print, and I hope that you read it. If not, read it, because that's really the bad news, is that I cannot do it and you didn't all read it. But the good news is that Professor Paloma did a fantastic job academically, and she did save me a lot of that time to the general background. So that's the good news. So part of it, you already are aware of it. But I'll start, and I'll do it very briefly. And I'm soliciting you and require from you to listen to that, and so you can ask me the question, and that's going to be the importance of the thing. On Friday, I'm going to speak differently, and that's going to be really what I consider the breakthrough in my way of thinking of the last 35 years of this. It's going to be more philosophical things about what it means to be the Shaltiels and need to be a Sephardic Jew for the years, which is much more, in my opinion, I was able to evolve it, I think. Some 30 years ago, my late father challenged me. He made some of those usually elderly Shaltiel remarks, as todos Shaltiel son reyes. This, and I made some joke about it. When he looks at me, he was at my house in Chicago, and he smiled and he said, "You know what? You're doing pretty good, investment banking and all that. Take a sabbatical, prove it's all BS, bullshit, and then we'll joke about it together." But his eyes were not smiling, and that time I knew he was dying. So I told him, "You know what? I'm going to do it. I'll devote 2 or 3 months that turned to be 35 years." So I did start the research. The part of our history in Spain is culminated in about 3 or 4 years of work, in which I employed between 4 and 6 research assistants here in Barcelona and other cities. With the help of the guardian of the Crown of Aragon archives, he introduced me to those researchers. And it came out we discovered about 400 documents that most of them have never published before. And they were not indexed. So they really had to go to the archives, the various archives, and actually go through and just looking for the names and translated it. So and from that we transliterated it, because it was an ancient Catalan. We translated, and it was published in a book called Shaltiel Manuscripts. I'm going to publish that book again online in a website that I'm working on it now, along with my other work. So it's going to be free, available to everyone, all those. The great about those documents is when I took it out of context, out of the cities, and just put it by chronological order, suddenly it all made sense. I was able to build our family tree. And that's the one thing. Now, Miles has, if I can stand here. Miles, can you give me the... He promised me something, he's not giving it to me.
It's true, Moshe. I let you down. Here we go.
Okay, so what I would like to do is, and again, it's a general bird's view, but by the time I'm finished, I promise you, you'll know exactly where we came from, where we're going. You know that 3,000 years ago, King David, which we consider our patriarch, that was his time. The royal families in Israel lasted until Yehoiachim, King Yehoiachim, who was the last king of Judea, the last legitimate king of Judea. And that was 597 BC. So all those years we had those straight lines of kings that not all of them are father and son, but they're the same family, and we are the descendants. The son of the first person who was not a king, of the royal king of the Jews, his name was Shaltiel, and he was the first exiler. His son was actually his grandson. His son's name was Zerubbabel, which is the seed of Babylon. But his grandson was Meshulam, which is perfect. Why is important? We'll come to that in a minute. And then, for 1800 years, we had straight line of exilarchs of the house of David. For 1800 years, not always father and son, the family got together and they were to choose the most qualified person to carry the torch. But like always, when it's a family and it's a lot of interest, a lot of money, some of them was politics, some of them was pressure, but basically it worked out for 1800 years. The last legitimate exilarch, and I say legitimate, there are a reason for that, but we don't have time to, maybe in the question and answers, I'll do it, was Chizkiah, son of David. At 1058, he was executed by the Caliph because of some accusation which were not correct, but it was political things and all that. His two sons, or some say 3 sons, escaped, and they were actually, before that, they felt the ground was burning and all that. They started moving money and making investment, and because of the political situation in Andalusia, they actually caused what the Jews called at that time the Edomite kingdom, the Christian kingdom. Now we come to that, I'll stop it for a second and I'll go back to Professor Paloma, but the way she was talking about, and then I can do it very quick, the invasion of Spain by the Islam, and then when it became more the fundamentalism. Now, before the fundamentalism came, the greatest about the Spanish, the Islam, Spain, was when you talk about how great was the Caliph and how strong was the Caliph, was how many volume of books he had in his library. How many scholars were in his court, and Jews and Christians and Muslims. They translated work and everything. Now, of course, the culture seat of the world was Baghdad at that time. So the development of philosophy, of mathematics, of geometry and all that was there, and they brought it with them. So they were translating the books, and medicine and all that stuff. So what happened is, and this is something that we'll talk again on Friday, natural things happen. When a country is in build-up, is in construction, merit counts. But once it's settled, then come the church. And the church I'm talking about in general. And I want to quote a professor by the name of Jacob Burckhardt, 1818-1897. And he says something which was so important. The more I study, the more I notice how important it is. The great religions are the source of the greatest historical crisis. I add one word for that, the great organized religions, because religion is always wonderful. But an organized religion is power. So what happened is, when the invention come, and the build-up come, and the merit works, one is settled, now the administration is coming in, and everybody's taking his piece of cake from the deal. And that's where the Jews cannot live with it at that time, because each one was taking the rights instead of merit. And at that time, the Jews started to feel that they had to leave Andalusia. Now stop right here. our family are not the microcosm of